All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Shane Eddie Evans podcast. I wanted to introduce you all to my first guest. This is Suzanne Sharkey. She is a Subto leader in New England. So this is my first one doing it. I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to look like a fool, and I'm okay with that. And I'm probably going to say this every single time I do this podcast because I'm okay with looking like a fool. So Suzanne, I just wanted to start off with a quick quote.
Sure.
And that one is, do something today that your future self will thank you for. So that is what I am doing. And I hope that today you being on here is also something similar. Can you tell us something that you are doing today that fulfills that?
That's a great quote. I think about that all the time where I'm like, future Suzanne, would future Suzanne be happy with me? So one of the things that I'm working on lately that it's a new project for me. It's something that I'm experimenting on, but I am so happy about it. Something you already know because you're in the Subto New England group is we're doing something called Squad 100. So it came about because there was an opportunity. One of my best friends does flips in New England, Maine specifically, it's Z, and he's doing his first flip in Massachusetts. And so on his ride down, he bothers me and he's like, my shit is your shit. Come look at this. And so he went for a walk and we looked at it and he says, help me on this. He's now doing probably about 15 flips. So he has no bandwidth to be project managing all of them, and he knows that as well. So he asked me for some help, and when I reviewed the deal, there was about 5 Subto students involved in it already. And then in my head, I was like, we could take this up to 10. Like, let's just push it. And then 2 seconds later, I was like, no, let's go to 100, because I know that in doing a flip, there's so many different decisions that come into play, and those are really overwhelming. And that was the thing that I struggled with a lot when I did my first flip was wanting some sort of confirmation, you're scared to fail. You're scared to make a mistake. So having somebody to make decisions was just so much more fun. And it's something new that I'm trying. There's a whole other story about human design and where I get my energy from. And so somebody had told me, they were like, just go with your gut, stop overthinking things, just go with it. Because one of the things that I struggle with is doing things out of obligation, doing things because I'm an adult, a responsible adult, and then feeling really exhausted by them and thinking to myself, how does this benefit me? How does this move me forward? Am I living my best life? Am I making future Suzanne proud by, getting into the weeds on this? But with this project, this weekend was so much fun. I feel really energized by it. I'm a total introvert that most people don't know about. So sometimes having these big meetups, they take a lot of energy from me. And so I hate having that question after doing something and thinking, did I make the right choice? Was that the right fit? What did I learn from this? So this project, I'm thrilled with it. It's something that I'm experimenting with. Nobody has done anything like it. And I'm going with my gut. I'm going with the inspiration and following through. And I'm really excited about it. And I have lots of energy for it. So I think this is the right thing. So and the feedback that I'm getting from it is also really great from all the new people that are able to do things for the first time. I get why PACE, pushes people to help them get their first deal, because that kind of energy, enthusiasm, gratitude is so addictive. And so, I don't know, like, set you on fire. It's great energy. And so I think that's also what I'm picking up from people who are doing their first comp or feeling a little bit more confident coming out. Or I think Giselle was talking about, she's like, this is the best day that I've had in this entire community since the beginning, feeling like I can contribute. Because I think a lot of people, go through the motions of trying to do a deal. And then at the end of the day, they're like, I don't even know if that was real. I don't know if I moved the needle. I don't know that I did anything. But she comes out, she's able to translate. She speaks Dominican Spanish, which is not the same as Mexican Spanish, and she's still able to help us coordinate and bring tremendous value. And then the Mexican Dream Team works so fast that it's great to be able to see growth in real time. So people are having a really good time. And then, for me, I wrote on my Instagram bio, I was like, my first year in Subto, I didn't make that much money, but I call myself an emotional income bajillionaire, because that's the stuff that lights me up. So that's the project Squad 100 that I'm doing with Subto New England. It's all talked about in Discord. At another time, I was thinking, let's roll it out to Instagram maybe, but on a higher level. But for now, my style is like, I like to focus on New England first. And then once New England is good, then we can do other things. But New England is my top priority. So I pour into them first.
That's amazing. So you mentioned having 100 people involved. What are they being involved in? Like, are they coming out to the events? Are they helping out in certain ways?
Yes. So when you were talking about like, let's come down, the beautiful thing about the Subto community is everybody wants to volunteer. They want to give away things for free. And one of the things that I'm trying to stress, the reason for this project as well is I don't talk about all the bad thing that goes on behind the scenes, but I talk about the wild, wild west of off-market real estate. And so I've seen bad deals happen. And I talked to Z about this a lot because one of the other questions we had is, when you start bringing in people to your team, how do you compensate them? How do you compensate them fairly? Is there a standardized way we can do this? Is it, because we always get this question a lot, is how much should I pay for this? And it's like, well, how much is it worth it to you? Right? There's so many different ways to price things. So we wanted to kind of like do a deal together where we could break it down, share with others, like, this is what we came up with. You don't have to listen to it, but it's just something that, we got the conversation started and take our torch and carry it further. So people want to volunteer, and I'm trying to, this is the messaging that I keep giving them, is that this is a double, triple digit flip. A triple digit flip is $100,000. A double triple digit flip is minimum $200,000 is what we're after.
Amazing.
On top of that, there's $100,000 plus rehab budget that we have. So I have a $100,000 budget. I have 100 Subto students I want to get involved. There's a way to bridge that together. So right now I have Steve O'Keefe, who I'm trying to hire as my GC. He says no, but I will get him. Then I have Pavi, who will be my electrician, also who's like, meh, but I'm going to get him. And then just a bunch of other students, for example. So Giselle was doing translation for me, which is huge. I will find money in the budget to compensate her, because at the end of the day, if I was to hire a translator, that cost me $150 an hour. Maybe I could get something written for like $50 an hour. But I think about it, if I have a $5 VA, if I have friends that I use like their help freely with, if I have professional people that I have to hire, I just think about all these services. And I kind of got here because I did one deal where, when we do like private money and people are like, talk to your network, and you're like, I can't ask my friends and family for money. And then it's like, no, you ding dong, you have to spend that money anyway with a hard money lender. And the hard money lender I had is wearing Gucci shoes in my shitty hoarder house flip. His Gucci shoes. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey, Sean, how was your weekend? And he goes, oh, I just got back from Paris Fashion Week. And I had nothing to say to him because I can't mother effing relate. And so in my head, I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this. So I went to my brother and sister, and I was desperate. And my sister was asking to get involved too. So it was like a push and a pull. And I was like, I need to spend this hard money interest anyway. Can you give me money and I will give it to you instead? Because I don't want to have conversation with Sean anymore. Like, love him, but I can't relate to Gucci shoes. Goodbye. And at that time, then I realized, oh shit, we can keep money in the family. We should keep money in the family. If I can just spend a little extra time, energy, effort to keep it in the family, why wouldn't I? And the way with like AI is going and all this shit on the internet, when I Google something, I don't even trust the internet anymore. I trust you. If Shane from Powder and Plow told me this is the hitch attachment that I want when I want, do something, or if you teach me directly, I'm going to be like, I trust that. I know that man. I know his style. He gave me this advice. Maybe it's like I know his style, and so I might not be as risky as he is. Not that you are, just an example. But if I know your style, and be like, I'm not exactly Shane, and he gave me this advice, so I'm going to take like 85% of it. But it's way better than me just Googling on the internet and listening to like, one advice is to the left and one advice is to the right. So anyway, I like direct one-on-one advice. I like keeping money in the family because I like to do business with those that I know, like, and trust. And then going all the way back to the question of how can people get involved, is there's 100+ decisions that get involved with doing a flip. So even if it's as simple as pick me the paint color trim, or pick me the hardware that we're using, or shop for kitchen cabinet suppliers, I'll give you the kitchen design and I'll tell you exactly what cabinets I have, or just give that to them and get me a price from it. You having that conversation for the first time ever is really exciting. And for some reason too, I think when you do it on your own, when you advocate for yourself, because I feel this way too, if I do something for myself, it's so much different than if I do it on behalf of somebody else. It's almost easier to do it on behalf and just be like, well, she's an idiot and she said this and her budget is like $1. So you have to, that's her stuff, not me. But like, I'm just the messenger, just get me my price. So in any way, shape or form. So there's two ways, and I'll better clarify this, that, if there's something that you see that I'm not seeing, raise your hand. And if we include it in our project, then I'm going to put your name on our roster and I'm going to find a way to compensate you. If there's something that I say that we need, where I think when I first rolled it out, I'm like, make me an Instagram graphic, just whip up a graphic, $25. What else did I do? Find me a dumpster referral, $25. Then there are some where it's like, oh, be my bookkeeper. Anybody who want it, just keep a spreadsheet of it, $90 for 90 days. So I have certain things that I can roll out, but I also want people to raise their hand and just say like, hey, I'm here. And so we've been having people come to the property. They're, getting the energy, getting the confidence, feeling like they're part of it too. But yeah, so the thing that I'm balancing now is trying to make sure people know that we're making money here. This is not a charity case. If we do a charity case, then by all means, donate, give freely, whatever you want to give. But I want to show people that it's so much fun to work together. You can make money together. I have a $100,000 budget. Let me spend it on you. I got to do a better job of clarifying that push and pull of, I'm going to give you opportunities, but I also want you to raise your hand and tell me things that I'm not seeing, because I can't see everything. But in any way, shape, or form, raise your hand and let's get it involved with the project if we can.
Amazing. That's so cool. So it's really neat that you're basically trying to include people in this project while also giving back to them, right? So, I mean, like you said, we have a big community of people in Subto that want to help each other, right? We're sharing our person, we're connecting people with other people, and we're giving back to our community. And, as Pace always says, you should also be making money when you give back, right? Yeah. So it's amazing that you talk about that. And you also talk about something called the Upfront Contract. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that as well.
Upfront contract is huge. So all these things I got from Pace. So if I sound like a super genius, it's not. In fact, I almost stopped listening to Pace like a year and a half ago because it was just so much stuff that he was giving that I was just like, oh my God. And so the last thing I stopped at is what I call the Pace Project. So he went on a rant talking about where he's like, if you're in your area, you should have the ultimate buyers list. You should be sharing your resources together. You should walk into a REIR. Everybody should know who you are. You should be this one unified presence. And then one other thing, which is a great thing that I'm trying to execute on a year and a half later, here we are. So this man is like bajillions of light years ahead of me. And then one other thing he talked about a lot was the upfront contract. Upfront contract is another one of those gold gems that you're like, if you don't have that awkward conversation up front, you're going to have it at some point in time and it's going to be worse. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. So I always think of it as like, because you have Anna, but a kid with a diaper, there's going to be poop. They're going to shit, right? If you let that shitty diaper sit, the worse it becomes. She's going to get a rash on her. It's going to stink. It's going to spread, right? The cleanup's going to be worse. So there's always going to be poop. You need to change that diaper fast. So as soon as you smell poop, get a whiff of poop, get a red flag of whatever, there's poop in the arena, find the poop, address the poop before the poop becomes more than it needs to be. And so the upfront contract is very much like that you being who you are, if you can see the patterns as they arise, we're humans, we try to project patterns all the time. But if you see patterns coming, if you've had a bad experience with somebody, tell that person up front, right? All the awkward things that you're thinking. Something that you did like when you first started this is, and also I'm going to tell you not to do this anymore, where you're like, I'm going to be weird and I'm going to make a fool of myself, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of an upfront contract where you're kind of setting the standard to be lower. But the truth be with that. So that's a great example of an upfront contract is you're setting the bar where it is so that people's, I also call it managing expectations. Because people tend to have expectations, but when expectations don't meet reality, that's where this perceived hurt comes from. So you're living in fantasy. And that's a whole other topic. But anyway, setting the upfront contract, managing expectations. So you're like, baby, I'm right here. So if you're anywhere but here, that's a you problem because I already told you I'm here. But if you're here with me, then we're good to go. If you're anywhere else, then we got problems. So upfront contract is really important because you got to set the standard, set the expectations. If you don't do it, that person is going to do it on their own because as humans, we're hardwired to try to be defensive and protect and to formulate patterns and yada, yada, yada. So it's much easier if you just tell them straight out the gate, here it is. And you can do a third party story and blame it on something else and say, hey, the last time I worked on somebody with this, that, and the other happened. I just want to be very transparent with you. This is what I'm after. This is what I'm looking for. If you can do it, great. If you can't do it, and I love this expression that I got from Justin Tumanowski, no love lost. It doesn't change anything, right? Because I think about that all the time. Like, I think us, when we say no, we feel like people are not going to like us. So if you just say, listen, no love lost, this is where I'm at. If you can meet me here, cool, cool, cool. If not, no worries. You're a free bird, no love lost. You do you, boo. But this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm after.
That's
And
beautiful.
I think it's really important too, as like we move forward, there's a whole nother topic I have on like being vulnerable, because there are people that want to get involved with things and they feel so scared because they have some sort of like PTSD over another deal that they did, or bullshit happened. And so I keep telling people, I want you to talk about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because you as a man, you can't read minds. As much as I might want you to read my mind, you can't read my mind. So let's make it easy for everybody. Let's just tell everybody straight out the gate, I'm trying to do this. I'm scared about this, that, and the other. I'm looking for this. And hopefully we can work together. If you can't, if something changes, please tell me in real time. We are adults. Let's not ghost each other. Communication is just communication. And there's no such thing as good news or bad news. It's just poopy diaper. And we got to change that poopy diaper fast.
I love that. That reminds me of the story of the farmer, right? Who basically his horse ran off, and all the neighbors were upset that he lost his horse. He's like, "Oh, that's so terrible." And he's like, "Well, it might be good, might be bad. Who knows?" Right? Yeah. And then the story goes on where that horse comes back with a mare, and they're like, "Oh, wow, that's such good news." He's like, "Well, it could be good, could be bad." And the next day, the son breaks his leg because he was trying to tame that horse. And the same question came up. "Oh, that's terrible." And he's like, "Well, it could be good, could be bad." And then the next day, the army came through and they drafted all the young children, or the young boys, and his son didn't go off to war. And they, again, you can imagine what they said, and he's like, "Oh, either way, could be good, could be bad." Right. So, kind of setting that up with people, and really being upfront about how you're talking about things, and how things have to happen, and it's going to happen, right? We know that things happen in life, and that's there. So that kind of leads me into mindset, right? So it's something that is huge in our industry. A lot of people, I guess even me before going into this, it's all like woo woo, and you're talking about this and that, and that's how I've always felt. But at the same time, when you do that self work and that growth for yourself, it changes the way you can work with people, in my opinion. Yeah. And it changes the way you look at yourself. And you're right. In the beginning of this, I called myself out and said that I'm new to this and I'm probably not going to be very good. But you're right. I'm doing it. I'm taking the action, and I'm putting myself in an awkward position on purpose. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about your mindset and how you move through your day?
So mindset is awesome. Not mine, but the concept of mindset, addressing it, it's so incredible. Actually, it's funny. Last night I was watching Kanye West, right? And I know he's an acquired taste, but I love the fact that man, the way that he thinks. And I think the same thing, like I'm not a President Trump kind of person, but like there's something to be admired about that these people walk on water, right? And I get it. These two might not be your role models, but I love that concept of mindset, that anything is possible. Anything they touch, they can do. So it's huge. My mindset is not the most powerful. There are people in our group that I think do mindset really well. I asked Sean Sandville from New Hampshire to come on stage at Creative Elite and talk about mindset, because that boy entered after a breakup. He entered into what do you call it? A bodybuilding competition. Dude, if you've ever done I've never done it, but just the concept of all the food that you got to eat, all the food you can't eat, all the gymming that you got to do, all the pickup and put down of stuff and the powders and the supplements. He won his first attempt, and I'm pretty sure it's IFBB, with International Federation of Bodybuilding. This is the creme de la creme of like, wow. This is it. He won amateur the first time he attempted it, and the glory he must have felt. But this boy is mindset embodied. And he talked about, and everybody asked, like, what's the secret? What's the secret to muscles? What's the secret to this? They asked me too for like leadership stuff, for regional leadership. Like, how'd you do it? How is your group so like this? And I tell them at the end of the day, this shit is hard. There's no substitute for, what is it, hard work. It's going to take hard work. But the one thing that I could maybe help you with is show you all the ways that I have succeeded. What has been great, what hasn't been great. That way you don't have to try out the not great stuff, right? You can just learn from everything that I've already done. But it does not substitute hard work. It's going to take hard work to get there. So going all the way back to mindset, I'm not the best at mindset. When I first started this, there's a whole multitude of reasons. even in rooms now, I still feel a certain level of intimidation. I'm younger than most people. I'm a woman. I'm a minority. I'm not that experienced. So all these things, just like you, when your mindset, when you first started, you're like, I'm going to make a fool of myself. Honey, what are you talking about? If you never said that, people would be like, you're doing great. You have questions prepared. You're well-spoken. You look great with your manicuring, with your beard and your mohawk thing.
Yep.
You know, if you never told anybody that, would they even ask that question? They probably would not. But you're the one that's like, I suck at this. Just to remind you, I suck. Just to remind you, I'm going to be a fool. I wouldn't even do that. I would just be you without having to apologize for all that. So going all the way back to mindset, my mindset is not the best, especially when I started. I'm definitely a work in progress. But one of the other things that has helped me tremendously as well is, so I think it's an Alex Hormozy quote, which said, confidence is an undeniable stack of like evidence that you've done it. But all of that to say is, all of the work that I have ever done along the way has made me into who I am today. I went through a phase where I had some lady who tried to litigate me. It was a nightmare and a half. And she called me a fraud, and it ripped the heart out of my chest big time. And it was a blessing in disguise, because I had to go back through all my text messages, all my emails, all my everything that I've ever done on this transaction that was like 8 months long. And I looked at all my work, and I remember, like, this is bad, but I email on the road. I have a Tesla, so it drives itself, but I'm still like, I'm an Asian driver, so I need to be careful. But like, I'm emailing on the road, I'm texting on the road, I'm trying to communicate in real time to people. That whole upfront contract, as things happen, you need to deliver that communication. And I remember where I was when I said certain things, and going back over that 8 months and looking at all my communication, I fucking killed it. My work was so good. I did not once mislead them. I did not once leave the door cracked to misinterpretation. No, nothing, because that's what she was trying to catch me on. And as a lawyer, they're great at needling and finding that thing, especially when they're defending a customer that has money. And so it was a blessing in disguise to go back and look at all my work and be like, damn, I do good work. I do good work when I'm having a bad day or when shit is going down. I did great work always. Like, I delivered that to that. I deliver is what I do. So for me, I think mindset is hard, working on opening it up. But one thing that I can do is look back at my past work and know that everything I've done, every failure that I've had, every stupid spreadsheet that I've made, every email that I've sent out, every underwriting that I've ever done, nobody can take that from me. So even if you were to call me a fraud or I don't have it or whatever, you might hurt me for 2 seconds when I believe you, but at the same time, I can also look back on everything that I did, and you can't take that from me. So that Alex Hormozy quote, which says confidence is, because I'm not a confident person, especially when I started. And I think that's also goes hand in hand with mindset is in your head, you're constantly telling yourself, you're not going to be good enough. You've never done this before, because you know all these things, right? But if looking forward gives you anxiety, if you can look back and see, I've done all this stuff. So really, can you really hurt me? Can I do it again? Most likely, yes, if you look back on what you've done. So if forward is scary, look a little bit back. Mindset is still like an ever-growing thing, because when you're a baby and you're growing, you're still growing. I am only at 36-year-old Suzanne, who has X amount of experience now. And as I have more things in my past, right, more of those undeniable, stackable experiences, it'll help me reach newer heights. But breaking that mindset every time I level up, it will be a constant, not battle, I shouldn't say that, but it'll be a constant challenge. But it's having the reminder that mindset holds us back, and us sharing what we do to keep ourselves on the right path, right? Living in reality instead of fantasizing about our anxiety and being held by it, is definitely it's like fertile soil. This is a great place to be for me to grow here.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you bring up a concept of a book that I've read, The Gap and the Gain. I'm not sure if you've read this book
No,
yet.
I haven't.
It's amazing. It's exactly what you're talking about, but it really hits home all those different things where you look back to where you were compared to where you want to be. So you've got this ideal self, you've got where you are and where you used to be. And instead of trying to measure yourself against that goal, which you always are going to fail, right? You're never going to get to that goal, right? To the day you die, there's always something a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But if you look back and say, wow, look at all the stuff I've done to get to where I am now, holy shit, right? Like your entire mindset changes, right? Like look at your growth in your family and what you've done and who you've, I mean, me personally, like I've been estranged from my brother to an extent for a while. And I was like, I'm going through all this mindset and this growth. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'll put the olive branch out there. If he wants to take it, cool. And then we move forward. Right.
Right.
So, you build up this anxiety and you build up all of these emotions of the what could be or what might be or what I should be doing. And it really brings you back to earth, like you said, and it kind of gets you focused in on what's important and realizing that, holy shit, I've done a lot, whether it's I just got up on time this morning and woke up with intention versus, oops, why am I awake? Right. Like people wake up as if it's on mistake. Right. And, finding that forward motion is really great. So I wanted to lead into, I guess, one of my favorite questions to ask is, looking back on your journey, can you give us an example of what your younger self, what advice you would give to your younger self? What would that be and why?
I don't know. So I know this question and I think about this and like, what do you regret? Like somebody asked me, what do you regret? And I think to a certain extent, I don't regret anything to a certain extent because everything has made me who I am today. Right. And all I can do is focus on this moment and what I'm going to do in this moment here and now. And am I living my best life? Am I living at my highest vibration? So if I could give my younger self a piece of advice, she won't listen because I know Suzanne. I know old Suzanne, and I'm thinking about future Suzanne all the time. But old Suzanne, one of the expressions that I love a lot is start now. I wish, I don't know, it would have to be a conversation. It couldn't just be like this one expression, but I didn't take one of the things that is huge to me because it's what gave me kind of everything I have now. Is accountability. And when we first started out here in New England, our groups were called the accountability groups, not the regional groups, the accountability groups. And our groups were small. There was only like 3, 4, 5 of us on a call. And because of that group, I have these 2 other things that I call holding space, which is having people talk, allowing what you're doing. You're giving me your time and your full attention, and you're holding the space for me to fill it with all my words. So holding space and also being seen, right? When you can relate to some of the things that I'm saying, like I also relate to you talking about your estranged brother, and I want to unpack that with you later too, because I have other things I want to say about that. But being seen by somebody, feeling connected to somebody. So going all the way back, when I first joined, I wasn't ready to join. I ran out of excuses why I wasn't doing it. And so then I pulled the trigger. I literally told the kid, I was like, you need to do this now because I know me and I'm going to let this get too far away from me. So we're ready to go. And then he signed me all up and the doors open. And I was like, I have no time for this. This is a fucking fire hose. I'm not ready for this. Like, okay, it's all there, but I got shit to do and not now. But I took step 1, I took like 12% of a step. So like, let me just celebrate that 12% of a step. And then we'll get back to this at a later date. And then a month happened where I like paid 2 cycles of whatever the payment was at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I got to do something. And I got mad at myself. And then it was so funny. The day that I reached out is the same time that Celicia also reached out to me, where I was like, bitch, where's this goddamn meeting? I'm ready to go right now. What is everybody doing? La, 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 la. And she was like, we're meeting right now. You should just come. And then I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was ready, but like, okay. So I jumped in and it was great. And those weekly meetings, having space held to where people allowed me to talk, being seen by others that they were stranger to me. But at this time, when you meet them, you're like, oh, you're the OGs. You're the original founding fathers of Subto. Like, there's a level to that. So you want to impress them. You want to, I don't know, show off a little bit. So I remember coming and I almost quit coming because I was like, I literally have not sent an email. I haven't done squat since the last week. Literally it would turn around where you're like, oh shit, it's 6:00 on a Thursday. And you're like, I didn't do anything. I didn't even think about it since last week. I can't believe we're here. Like time. I just like, what is it? Time machine. I time machine to this moment in time. And this whole week, just goodbye. But the accountability, going through that process, after about 6 months, I got tired of having to say the same thing every time I came to a meeting, which was, I have nothing to contribute. I have done nothing. I have no excuse to not do anything. Because, when you're talking, you're like, I can say this out loud, but I know this is bullshit. Right. So you get to a certain time when I think you're just, I'm 36 and I'm just like, oh, fucking, I don't want to say that out loud. I don't care anymore. So I'm like, I'm full of shit and I know it. Anyway, so I got to a point where 6 months in, then I got angry again. And then I started doing work. And for me, I really think this concept of holding space for me to say my piece, for me to hear the shitty things I'm saying out loud to myself, hear the shitty excuses I'm giving myself, and for others to see me, those two things, holding space and being seen, held me accountable. And for me, being held accountable means I get to be the person that I want to be. I know who I am now. I'm Suzanne now, right? But I'm an amalgamation of everything that I've done before. And then I'm just this weird conglomerate of like, I made these weird decisions all along the way, and this is what you got, right? And now going forward in the future, I can do a little bit of planning to say, okay, if future Suzanne is going to be this, what do I have to do to make sure future Suzanne has that future Suzanne is proud of that? So for me, looking back, what advice could I give myself? I don't know. Start now. Start now. If I can start sooner than later, if I can be a little bit braver, because there are times where I'm being held back because of my mind told me that I'm not good enough. I know nothing. I'm too young. I'm a woman in this industry, and that bothers me sometimes. But again, Suzanne wouldn't listen. So I would just tell her, start now. Find yourself some sort of accountability. Accountability is huge to me. And I think accountability is also synonymous with community. When you have a good community, you are being held accountable. So accountability, accountability, accountability. Maybe we'll go with that. Accountability. Accountability would have gotten me to probably start faster. Start now, accountability.
I love that. And, you know, I've been going through a coaching program myself for the past 8 weeks. And
Right.
that is our biggest thing. We have a group of core people that I trust. In like, I have a journal. I write in my journal every night, and they know my secrets about my wins and like what I messed up on, and you know, the troubles I'm having with my daughter or my wife or whatever. And I trust those people, right? So being vulnerable, I think you mentioned before, is huge, right? It's, you can put on a show, you can pretend to be something you're not, you can pretend that everything's going great, or I can say something like, I've started this journey, I started coaching 2 months ago, I haven't made a single penny for the past 2 months because I've been working so hard on setting up systems. And that's okay, right? Because I like you said, I'm shooting to be that future person. I have to get all these things in line in order to do that, instead of like we probably lived our lives. Ooh, what's this? I want to do that. That sounds like fun. But there was never a target to aim for. It was always like, okay, I'm adapting to what's coming in. I'm adjusting to what the inputs are, instead of me creating outputs and making those outputs my goal and my target. And having people around who can be there for you and pick you up when you need to be picked up, or, you know, help you out on a deal, and, you know, 100 people who are going to benefit from this deal that you're doing. And that's amazing. Right. So I completely agree. Accountability is just so valuable for what we're doing and what anyone is doing. I think that's amazing that you came to that realization.
I might change it after what you said, because I want to push back on some of the things that you said where you're like, I'm setting up systems, I'm doing this for 2 months. Accountability, yes, is huge, but I also think walking the fire is even more, because I want it to be perfect, right? I know you have high standards. I know you want to be great. You're a father. You want to build an empire for your family. You don't want to do it and then have to do it again, right? And I come from that same foot of wanting to, I don't want to say perfect, but essentially wanting to be perfect and not fucking things up and being efficient. But I can also tell you this, that I was supposed to set up an LLC a long time ago, and I found every which way not to do it. And then when I had to buy something, I'm like, oh, bitch, it's go time. Like it takes you 5 minutes to set up an LLC. It doesn't take you much more than that. But all the stress and anxiety from thinking, oh no, I have to be linear. I have to do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I can't skip. And the answer is no, bitch, just run it to the end zone and figure it out along the way, because that's what it ends up being, is all the things that you prepared for. When I finally did my first deal, I got angry, and then I just ran into the end zone with it. And all the things that I thought I learned, fucking out the window. I was like, who am I? What is Subto? Like, and they're like, you idiot, you know this. So talking it, right, holding that space, being able to talk it out, having a sounding board, having a community you can come back to and talk to is really important because it'll help keep you sane. But I think walking the fire is the other thing that you need to do. So I'm going to change my answer. My bad. Walk the fire. Fuck it up. I am not joking. You need to go out there. You need to talk to people, do the income generating activities. Fuck that shit up. As you need to solve problems, then you will actually solve it. If you try to solve everything previous to a deal and then think like, oh, I'm going to be so prepared when I walk into this deal and everything's going to be great. No, honey, I already told you. It's a child that's going to shit. There's shitty diapers all over the place. You never know where they're going to come from. You never know how big they're going to be or where they're going to pop out of. And you might just change one and 2 seconds later, you got to change another one. All I'm going to tell you is just have the kid. You'll figure it out. Right? Kind of like that. You can plan to be a parent and you can be like, oh my God, I need to go through all this therapy before I become a parent so I don't put my trauma on my kid, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, no, time is passing by so fast. Have the goddamn kid or else you're going to be 80 years old and then you're going to be like, I'm finally financially, mentally, emotionally stable, ready to have a kid. And you're like, no, time is gone, honey. Have the kid now. You will figure it out along the way. So I'm going to change my answer to walk the fire now. Do it now. Start now. Maybe go back to start now is what my thing is. I don't know. Make me sound good when you put this out.
Sounds good. You already sound great. Don't worry. So yeah, I mean, I love that. It's fail forward, right? Fail quick and fail fast and just try, right? So, you know, for example, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm connecting with connectors and pushing my network to connect with the people who have a network so that I can connect with more people.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching them how to be a connector. I don't have a full grasp just this minute on how to be a connector. I have an understanding of what steps need to be taken based on what I've been doing, but I'm going to learn a couple steps ahead of them. I mean, I was a teacher for 13 years and I would literally learn the lesson the day before if it was something new or even that morning, like, okay, guys, we're doing this, let's go. And I would teach that. And it wasn't the best, right? But the next time I did that, I moved the dial. The next time I did that, I moved the dial and I kept going up and up and up. And yeah, it's, you know, I failed a lot and I'm okay with that. And being vulnerable, admitting that you failed and admitting that you need help and just starting is super powerful. I just wanted to close out with one more question. How can we find out more about what you're doing and how can our audience contact you?
You're so cute. Okay. So, I made this joke at community camp where I was like, Pace, I left my house for you because I did. I don't travel. I don't leave the state. I don't go anywhere unless it's like emergency. I like being at my computer. I like being at my little battle station. I know I want to be great in my environment. I don't like sucking, which is a very human thing where you start something new, you're going to suck. It's a whole thing about sucking. I hate sucking. So I like to stay at home, do my thing. And I made this joke saying that I was a cellar dweller at a community camp. And then it spun into this whole joke of like, I eat hot dogs in my basement and I never leave and I never let the sun touch my skin. It's just funny, but there's some truth to that. So my name is Suzanne K. Sharkey on Instagram, if you want to find me. My Instagram is just full of all the things that make me chortle out loud at the end of a really long, difficult day, or some achievements that I want to highlight. I literally have Instagram because of Pace Morby. He went on a rant one day and I heard him and I was like, oh, sounds great. And then I was like, I'm not doing that. That's not my style. Oh my God, there it is. And then like another month later, he's also on a rant and I'm like, fucking okay, I'll get it. Back off. Damn. And it's been wonderful. So I highly recommend everyone get Instagram. It is in my opinion, it's like a printed magazine of your life, right? What do you want to show the world? How do you want to advertise yourself? What is so easily ubiquitously accessible that people can see you? What's your public profile? That's that. Facebook to me is more of like a connection thing where it's like friends and family, personal stuff. LinkedIn, I don't even check it. Twitter, meh. Threads, not existent. TikTok, I'm trying to stay off because I spend way too much time on that app. But I think Instagram is the way to be. So I'm on there personally. It's about me and what I'm doing, but not that much. Like I'm not a regular poster. I do run the Subto New England account. And for that one, the goal is to show everybody what Subto New England is doing as on a community level. And so we have our leadership team, which is about 10 people. So 5 regions, 2 leaders each, which means 10 people total. We have a regional leadership team that is held by New Reach or Subto Corporate. Right now, there's 2 of us on it. And so Subto New England runs, we just highlight our leaders and what our leaders are doing. I'm trying to point the new people there, because if not, they'll just come to me and I'm only one person and that makes me a bottleneck. So if I can point people to, plus I have no interest in being in, like, no offense, Maine or Vermont. Like, I don't want to leave my house, right? Why would I go to Vermont? So the beautiful project that you're doing up there, I think is wonderful, but I don't want to be there. I just want to be where I want to be. So anytime people are wanting to do anything in New England, I send them to Subto New England. And then from there, I send them to the regional leader who knows their area really well. So if you ever want to find us, Subto New England. If you ever want to find me, Suzanne K. Sharkey, I think I have the best internet garbage junk out there. So if you need to unwind at the end of the day and don't want to go to TikTok, come look at my stories. But if you want to do real estate stuff, definitely take a look at Subto New England. I post all of our announcements there for the general public, even if we're just doing Subto New England thing. So Squad 100 is a Subto New England thing because I start with family first. After that, then we'll do something with the general public and probably do it on Instagram. But I make all the announcements there as well, because Discord is an acquired taste, and that's fine, but I'm trying to train everybody there. But because I have FOMO for everybody else, I can't send emails. Our listserv is 1,500 strong now, and Google deletes me and puts me in timeout if I don't. I'm limited to like 500 a day, so I can't do that. So
Okay.
Instagram is kind of like the old school Twitter when you're trying to like blast something out. So if you follow us there, you will know what's happening. And then from there, if you want to reach out and connect with somebody, I'll help you find the local leader, and that's your go-to person. So always start with them. If you have specific questions, reach out to them, but they are the industry expert for that territory. So I always make sure I want you to go there. And in the future, when the Vermont market opens up, I got my eyes on somebody already. So I'm excited for you to continue doing what you're doing. I would love to invite you into Squad 100 as well, because that's kind of what we're doing as well, as the whole connector thing, where you have a skill to offer. I want your skill. Let me compensate you. So if there's anything that you can see, any guidance that you can give me while we do that, I'm happy to have that too.
Would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah.
For everyone watching, please make sure you follow Suzanne Sharkey at Suzanne K. Sharkey on Instagram, as well as Subto New England.
Yeah.
And also, if you liked what you saw here, please make sure you follow me as well at Shane Eddie Evans. And we're looking forward to having you on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.